Hello, everyone. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, David, for the invitation. So good afternoon to everyone who is watching us here today. And thank you for being here. So this presentation is a work in progress. Let's just me share my screen. It's part of my secondment at RAI. So I have the pleasure to be at RAI for the last 2 months and a half. And we were, I mean, this is particularly different from the other case because relies on a qualitative approach. So we did a lot of, I did a lot of observations and interviews with journalists and also with the team, the research team there to understand, some of the cases that they're using, but also the challenge that they have. So without further ado, so let me jump into the presentation. Here is some of the topics that I'm going to talk today. So we know that there's a lot of struggles about technological innovation in media, and there is like this high speed of adopting technology that, is really important for media organizations. Otherwise, they will not be able to continue, deploying, their activities. And also, as we saw, their business model is really struggling to follow up with these innovations. And there are different types of innovations, and here we specifically are talking about AI. And we know that, for example, in the media industry, you have this yes, but syndrome. We want to do that, but we don't have money. We want to do that, but we don't have people, which always challenge, these organizations to develop these AI systems. And it's really interesting when we are talking about this these organizations that are trying to innovate and bring technologies or emerging technologies to their organizations. We have like great examples as Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, BBC, Der Spiegel, BR, that were they developed teams that were really focused on that. And that's the case of RAI, that they have a research team that is like dedicated to, study and also implement this case at RAI. So when we talk about AI and media, we have different subfields that can be explored. And, for example, here we have natural language processing. We can do detection of fake news to analyzing text. Also, we have computer vision, where you can use, satellite imageries and to do investigative stories, or also use, content from social media to detect if there are, like these deep fakes or not. So there is different areas, that subfield, that we can explore in the media. And specifically here, and also the combination of the subfield. Specifically here, I want to answer a couple of questions related to how they're adopting, artificial intelligence in their operations, but specifically how these applications were being emerged within the organization, how these practitioners were working with the technological research team to make this viable, and what are the challenges and opportunities that arise from this deployment and the organization, and what are the challenges that practitioners and also technologists face when deploying these tools. So without further ado, so I'm going to explain a bit about some of the tools that the RAI team deployed. So they basically have 4 big tools that are using AI, and they are emerging from the first one, that is Hypermedia News, which has more than 10 years, was one of the first projects. So this system was like really trying to collect indexing content from different sources and trying to bring that for journalists so they could, look for different topics and looking different sources and trying to get information that was useful for them. From that, they evolved to what we call concept book, and they created this front-end system, which was launched during AI for Media project, and trying to create a component that people, journalists and media practitioners could use to create alerts and topics that would be relevant for them and receive this content or filter this content throughout the time. So in this could be audio, audio-visual content. So they also could search name of certain people, and they will find content that they could see from RAI library, and trying to create stories based on that. And then we have the most recent deployments that they were trying to bring these large language models. So we have news title that they call, and it's trying to improve the headlines proposed by journalists. So journalists would put their text or part of their text, and the system will propose some headlines. I'm going to show you some screenshots about that. And also we have the news summarize. What they are using is also large language models to create content from different sources as well, but trying to summarize that for journalists to be up to date on the content that are being, produced, and also trying to find new topics that they would like cover based what other organizations are doing as well. So hypermedia news, just for you have an idea, is these tools. So you have here the period of time that you can look at the news archive, and then you can look for certain topics, and then they will show up news stories that are come not only from RAI, but from other sources that they include, which include news agents around Europe and also other newspapers from Italy as well, and from other areas of Europe. Then we have the concept book that is the evolution. So we have different topics that they create. So then, for example, we have a concept that is the topic that I mentioned, climate summit. And then they will, once the journalists create this topic or this concept, he's going to have access, or she is going to have access to the content that was published related to climate summit. This can be, like, as I said, textual content, but also audiovisual content, and through a certain period of time that they put. And this can also help them to go to the archive and search and identify what we're talking about certain topics. For example, we are talking a lot about copy that happened last week. So for example, if you want to have other information, so about what was discussed in copy 2026, 2027, so we can easily go there and get this information and try to look at the most important videos and concepts that we found from this question. And here, sorry, my title is wrong, but it is news title. This is, like, as I mentioned, so they could insert a certain text, and then they would suggest, like, as you see here on the right side of the screen, a headline that would be relevant based on the text that they input. These are using large language models. Of course, that's what I'm going to discuss later on based on these tools, that there is a very skepticism by some of the journalists because they don't believe that it's useful. They believe their headlines sometimes are better, but not necessary, and we're going to discuss this in a bit. So here, oh, sorry. And here's the news summarize, the other tool that I mentioned. So based on certain topics, you're going to receive, like a summary of the news that you received in the other day. So here is, for example, relate to PNRR. So they receive like a summary of what the news, and then the link for the news story that was published on the previous day, for example. And based on that, the observation I saw I had there was like this: the team that we have, like the Center for Research and Technological Innovation, that's called CRITS, is trying to support this innovation and transformation, right? But there is also missing this lack of co-creation. Why? Because they are somehow separate from journalists, and because they are in one building, and the journalists are spread around Italy, but in Turin, that is the city, they are also in different parts. Besides that, there are also this assembly line. They are only responsible for the first part, which is like create a concept, create a minimal viable product, and this is going to become in the hands of the technological team to deploy this, create an interface, and then after to promote that. So there is this assembly line that makes also hard to promote some of these tools. And that's the reason there is certain skepticism about this journalists on how to use these tools. And there is also the need to investigate the acceptance and usage. So from the journalists that I interviewed, there is a certain lack of use of these tools because they don't know the usability or they were not familiar with that. But then when they become familiar with that, they start to understand a little bit better. But also there is like this really sense of, privacy, transparency, legal issues that they are really interest and understand how these are being incorporated in these tools, because for them it's really hard to rely on AI system. And which is really important, that Chris is not trying to replace the journalists, but it's hard for these journalists to understand that. So what they are doing is like creating tools that can assist these media practitioners, but they're trying to make their life easier, let's say like that, but it's not replacing them. But there is a lot of like lack of trust that that these tools will replace that for journalists. And also the other thing is really important. It's like the AI literacy. We identify that, I mean, a lot of journalists are not really familiar with AI systems, and they create a group to discuss and become more familiar with that. So they're going from the very basic concept, trying to understand what is AI and how this can be applied in the media industry, bring examples, so bring different practitioners around the newsrooms that are doing that, but also people from outside to bring topics to them. I personally was invited to one of the talks to show a little bit about my research, what I was doing, and then trying to show what other organizations around the world were doing in relation to AI, how this AI was assisting that. And the other part that's really important, it's like to have like seamless collaboration between individuals that has journalistic skill and those who have AI and data analysis expertise, which we seems to not have yet, because it's, as I said, they are displaced in different buildings, which it's hard to create this sense of collaboration. Just to conclude here, because of lack of time, so we believe that from this observation, there is the need for co-creation in these AI tools, because not only these journalists are like feeling that they don't understand what the tools are being created, how to use these tools, but also they see other needs that these tools are not addressing. For example, real-time content. They really want to get content from social media and understand the main topics that are being disseminated there. And on the other side, there is also this what I call from digital divide to AI divide. There is media organizations in general, they exhibit digital inequalities inside them. So a lot of people that have proficiency in technology, but also a lot of people that are not proficient on understanding what is technology, specifically AI. And that's the reason there is like lack of trust and afraid of how to use these tools and how to integrate that. And this also is really important and connects to the third topic of this work in progress that I'm showing here. Is about the institutionalization of these tools and better integration with the teams. We need also that the media managers, the people who are at the top of the organizations, try to institutionalize these tools and make them aware for all the journalists, and not that, like the technological team that start to spread in the other world, but these have to come from a top-down approach, so other journalists be more familiar with that. And also, as I said, better integrate with the teams that are the research team in this case and journalists, so they can maybe be at the same place, so they can exchange knowledge and understand each other. Because the access of journalists usually are really complicated, because they are always busy. So if they are not familiar at the same place or not having opportunity to have a coffee together, for example, they cannot exchange. And what is the future? So here there is an extra L, but basically they are using a large language model, testing how it can be useful, and understand also the limitations in known widely spoken language, such as Italian, because even though the foundation of the language is pretty similar to Spanish, that has a lot of data trained and is spoken by a lot of people in the world, this also brings challenge for the system to identify and produce better results, and also enhance the AI literacy of these journalists, as I mentioned before. I think that's all. Thank you.